Okay guys, our next example for your mesh analysis will be mesh analysis with current sources. So with current sources. So there are two cases of your mesh analysis with current sources. So you have our case 1 wherein the current source is in one mesh. Current source is present in only one mesh. Pag sinabi natin in only one mesh is that, sabihin natin pag meron kang dalawang mesh, okay? If you have two meshes, let's say this is your mesh 1 and mesh 2. So if you are talking about your mesh 1 is that your current source is within this part. Which means that it is only, or the current source is present only in mesh 1, and the current source is also present only in mesh 2, wherein you will assume that the currents will be assume okay lang so assumption is that these currents will be the currents will be the current for each meshes, meaning whatever current in this mesh will also be, or whatever value of this current source will be the value of this or the current of this mesh. Current at mesh 1, and whatever value of this current will be the current at mesh 2. The current at mesh 2. The current at mesh 2. This is your case 1. So, how about sir if dependent source siya? So, ganun pa rin yun. Whatever the value of that dependent source will also be the value or the current in your mesh 1. Just like our example 1, wherein actually voltage siya. So, the voltage in this mesh which is provided by this dependent source is already the voltage that is present in this node. Okay, so in this case, so since current source yung tinutukoy natin, so whatever current o na nandito sa magkabilang mesh nito will be the current at mesh 1 or at mesh 2. Okay, so second assumption or your second case is we have our case 2, yung tinatawag nating super mesh. So, kailan nagkakaroon ng super mesh? So, a super mesh is price is made when there is a current source, dependent man yan or independent, current source within two meshes. Meaning, ito yung namamangka sa dalawang ilog. Okay? So, if this will be your circuit, so let's say this is a resistor, another branch here, another branch here. Ito yung tinatawag nating super mesh. If a current source, big sabihin is that it can affect your both mesh, your mesh 1 and mesh 2. So, dyan pumapasok yung super mesh natin. Okay? So, in our second example, so I will give you a what you call the case 1 muna tayo. So, case 1. Case 1 example. Okay? This will be our case 1 example. So, what is the figure? So, actually this is a nodal analysis problem, but nag-freestyle lang ako. Ginawa natin siyang mesh analysis problem in order for you to understand the concept mesh analysis with current sources. So, we have our 2 ampere, then 60 ohm, then we have our positive, negative Vx, and then we have our 30 ohm and a dependent current dependent voltage dependent current source. So, bakit ko siya sinasabing voltage dependent? Because this 0.05 Vx is dependent to the voltage of the passive element 30 ohm. Okay? So, anong tinatanong dito? Solve for Vx using mesh analysis. Solve for Vx. Okay, pag sinabing solve for Vx lang yan, so I tip ko lang sa inyo is that wag kayong gagamit ng mesh analysis pag ganito kasi mas mahirap siya. Unlike pag gumamit ka ng nodal analysis is that you will only create one equation kasi isang node lang tong tatlong to, di ba? Isang node lang yan. Pag sinulat natin yan, magiging ganito lang yan, di ba? Node 1, 60 ohms, 30 ohms, tapos yung 0.5 Vx. Di ba? Magiging ganyan lang yan, tatlong yan, tapos yun na yung magiging ground mo. Unlike, pag gagawa ka ng mesh analysis within these 3 meshes that, meron kang tatlo mesh equation. We will have 3 mesh equations. Practically, pag this is a voltage source, and this is a voltage source, so meron pang 3 mesh equations. Samantalang pag gumagawa ka ng nodal analysis, 1 mesh equation lang. So, in this example, we will apply your case 1. So, we have our, first step natin sa mesh analysis that we would put a loop. So, this will be my I1 or my loop 1. This will be my I2 or my loop 2. And this will be my I3 or my loop 3. Okay. So, using our analysis, so kailangan alam mo yung case 1 dyan. So, since case 1 siya, take note that this is already the voltage at the current at I1, and also this will be your current at I3. Okay? This is true with your case 1 definition, wherein the current assumption, if it is only present in a one mesh, this will be the current of that mesh. So, dalawa yung natalakay ko agad dito, your dependent and your independent current sources. Okay? So, therefore, it is safe to say that my I1 is equal to 2 amperes via case 1 of our current sources using mesh analysis with current sources. And then, my I3, so positive siya. Bakit? Kasi yung assumption natin ng current is clockwise, which is within the position of your current, which is downwards. Okay? So, paano pag yung mali yung assumption mo is pabaliktad? So, magiging negative yan. Okay? So, pag sakaling ganito yung assumption ko, pag sakaling puro mga ganito yung assumption ko, yan, pag counterclockwise is that, syempre ba, sasalungat siya sa current, so magiging negative siya. But since our assumption is with the arrow, so therefore positive siya. Therefore, my I3 is equal to 0.05 Vx. Okay? Now that ampere is a unit. Okay? So, 2 lang yan. Pwede natin ilagay na 2 lang yan. Okay? Using mesh analysis, syempre yung I2 na lang ang gagawa natin ng mesh equations. Using mesh analysis at mesh loop 2. But take note is that i-define natin yung direction ng I2 natin. Ng mga currents natin. So, we have, this will be my I2. This is my I1. This is my I3. So, take note, itong I3 and I2 na to, this is the only current that is not or walang pakialam yung I1. So, therefore, this is your pure I2. Ito. Pati papunta dito, pure I2 yan. Okay? So, at 60 ohms, so we have our mesh analysis at 50 ohms. So, I will call it as I23 because my original or my base loop will be my loop 2. So, I will say that it is I23. Then, this will be my I21, sorry, I21 because the original loop current will be I2 that is or that will be affected by I1, and then this will be called as my I23, which is or the original current is 2, which is affected by the third current or I3. So how we solve that? So basic, di ba? Yun yung inspection. So i-add natin ng lahat ng resistor na nasa loob ng I2, which is basically your 60 and 30. So therefore, I will have a 90 multiplied by the loop that we are referring to. So 90 I2. So lalagyan natin ng title, mesh or KVL. KVL at loop 2. KVL at loop 2. So we have positive 90I minus 60I1 kasi nga it is your I1 is affecting your I2 with that presence of your 60 ohm minus 30I3. Okay? Minus 30I3 is equal to, wala tayong sources, so equals 0. Normally, pag gumawa ka ng KVL yan is that we have sa normal equation, so papakita ko lang sa inyo is that meron kang V60. So V60 yan, positive V60 plus Vx. But positive, sir, kanyan, current, pabaliktad or papasok yan sa negative. Take note, yung resistor nyo is that always it is positive yan. Unless, meron kang linagay na negative dyan. So, para magiging negative yan, pag binaliktad mo na yung current. So, plus Vx equals 0. What is your V60? Actually, your V60 is equal to 60 multiplied by. So, tignan mo sasalungat yan sa I21 natin. So, negative I21 plus Vx which is equal to 30. So, with I23, so positive I23 equals 0. But what is our negative I21? Take note that our negative I21 is equal to, so I21, palabas siya ng node. So, palabas, negative yan. I21 negative plus I1 minus I2. So, we have our I21 is equal to I1 minus I2. So, getting the negative of I21, so we have I2 minus I1. So, we have 60 multiplied by I2 minus I1 plus 30. So, what is our I23? Take note that our I23, so let's say this is node A at node B. So, at node B is that we have I23. So, palabas din yan. So, negative I23 plus our I2 plus our I3. So, let's say this is at node B. Okay? So, this is at node A. Okay? So, I23. So, therefore, my I23 is equal to, so, take note yung I3 mo is palabas. So, dapat negative to. Okay? This is negative. So, we have our I23 is equal to I2 minus I3. So, pag sinubstitute mo siya dito, so, we have I2 minus I3 equals 0. So, further manipulation of this equation will give you this equation. So, 60I2, so positive yan, 60I2 plus 30I2 is equal to 90I2 minus 60I1, so minus 30I3 equals 0. That is our equation for this. So, sir, meron naman na tayong current I1 which is 2 ampere and then I3 which is 0.05 Vx. So, therefore, madadali na natin makukuha yan. Take note guys that your Vx, okay, solving for Vx is that we all know that your Vx is equal to, what is our Vx? I23, so with the current, pumasok sa positive. So, I23 multiplied by our 30 ohms yan, tama ba? By our 30 ohms. Okay, that is our Vx. So, therefore, my Vx is equal to, so, I2 minus my I3, tama? So, our I23 is equal to I2 minus I3, okay? So, therefore, we have I2 minus I3 multiplied by 30. That is our Vx. So, solving for our I3, so we have our I3 is equal to, 0.05 multiplied by substituting our Vs, Vx. So, we have I2 minus I3 multiplied by 30, which is basically equal to 0.05 times 30 is equal to 1.5, tama, or 3 halves. So, we have 1.5 I2 minus I3 which is equal to 1.5 I2 minus 1.5 I3 which is equal to I3. Okay, so how will we solve this one? Dali lang, di ba? So, in order to get the equation, so ita-transpose ko lang siya para mag 2 equations to unknown na lang tayo mamaya, or kung gusto nyo, get the value of I3 in terms of I2. Okay? Practically, since nasa bahay kayo, ang gagawin nyo is kukunin nyo na lang yung mga linear equation nyo. So, therefore, transposing your I3, we have 0 is equal to 1.5 I2 minus 1.5 I3 minus 1 I3. Therefore, we have 1.5 I2 minus 2.5 I3. This is probably our equation 2. In order to get our equation 1, so we will further manipulate this equation. So, we all know that our I1 is already equal to our 2 ampere. Okay? So, therefore, I may say that since my I1 is already equal to 2 ampere, so substitute ko na lang. Substituting I1. So, I have 90 I2 minus 60 multiplied by 2 ampere minus 30 I3 is equal to 0. So, we'll have 90 I2 minus 30 I3 is equal to positive 120. So, paano siya naging positive 120? So, 60 times 2, negative 120, transpose natin siya sa kabila. Okay? So, we have this equation. This will be our equation 1. Equation 1. Okay. So, by using your calculator in your Fold 5.1, so ilalagay nyo lang that your I2 is equal to 90 and your I3 is equal to negative 30, and also we have a constant equal to positive 120, and then we have our I2 which is equal to 1.5 and also equal to negative 2.5. So therefore we have our current I1 will be our I2 will be equal to 5/3, and our I3 will be equal to 1. Okay, so that is our I2 and I3. So yung tinatanong is what? Your Vx. Okay, so para maniwala kayo na yun yung sagot talaga is that gamitin natin yung calculator natin, or pwede nyo siyang manumanuhin. Okay, so basically pwede nyo siyang manumanuhin, and then basically pwede nyo lang kunin yung in terms of I1 and I3. Okay, equal mo lang siya, makukuha mo yung value ng I3 in terms of I2. Okay, but syempre using our resources, so mode to. Okay, so dalawa lang yan, so 90, so AC, so ABC, so we have our 90 equals negative 30 equals 120. This is all equal to 1.5 equals negative 2.5 equals 0. Okay, 0. So we have a value equal to 1.66. So SD lang, wag gusto nyo siyang gawing fraction form. So 5/3, then 1. That is our, okay, that is our I2. So this is our I1 and I2. This is 1. Okay, I2 and I3, sorry. So since meron na tayong I2 and I3, take note that our Vx is equal to, take note that our Vx, note that Vx is equal to, our Vx is equal to 30 multiplied by I23. So 30 ohms multiplied by I23. But what is our I2? Our I2 is, what is our I23? Our I23 is just equal to I2 minus I3, di ba? Yan yung kagandahan ng subscript formation. Tignan na ang negative ng I23 is equal to I32, di ba? Baliktarin mo lang yung position niya, di ba? So I23, so we have 5/3 minus 1, which is equal to 5/3 minus 1 is equal to 2/3 amperes. This is our I23. So after getting your I23, so you are ready to get your Vx. So therefore, my Vx is equal to 20 multiplied by our I23, which is 2/3. So we have 30 multiplied by 2/3, so makakancel yan. So we have 10 multiplied by 2, we have 20 volts. 10 multiplied by 2, so we have 20 volts. Okay, that is our Vx. So medyo madali siya or medyo mahirap siya. It is up to you guys. Okay?